Today, guys, we are doing a deep dive on Forerunner. Now, we've been doing deep dives on exotics that have substantially changed, weapons that are performing much better in this sandbox, and Forerunner is one of those weapons that also received a buff in update 7.5.0. Now, some of you may be asking, why Forerunner Cross? Was this buff really substantial enough to use a sidearm that's also a special weapon? How could this be the meta? Patience, Padawan. Part of what we do is examine the sandbox from all angles so we can truly understand all the active dynamics within Destiny 2. And even though Forerunner has been mostly looked at as a PvP weapon, which I very much enjoyed in there, it snagged some nasty 3 taps. Today, though, we're going to be looking at it from a PvE perspective. So let's dive in. Now, for the uninitiated, Forerunner is the only special ammo sidearm in the game. It's an exotic kinetic weapon that released in December 2021 with the Bungie 30th anniversary pack and can still be acquired by completing the Magnum Opus quest. Now, Lightfall brought a lot of new Guardians into the fold, so if you haven't picked up the 30th anniversary pack, you can still snag it. It's also where you're going to get Galahorn, you can play Dares of Eternity, snag that BXR, you also got Grasp of Avarice, lots of great options. Now, if you're looking at this sidearm thinking, wow, this looks very familiar, well, it's pretty much taken straight out of Halo. That's right, it's the Magnum itself. And that's essentially what Bungie was trying to do here with the 30th anniversary event, was give us a bunch of weapons mimicking old weapons from previous games. This being the Magnum pistol from Halo Combat Evolved. It 3 taps inside of PvP, it's got crazy range. It was honestly my most used weapon when it released, and we used it constantly inside of trials. Now, the last major thing to know is that this weapon has an extremely interesting catalyst. And there's something to be said about weapons that have catalysts like this one. You know, where it actually changes the dynamic of the weapon. Now, it's a grind to get, requiring to reach rank 16 with Xur for Days of Eternity. Then you have to get another 700 kills. But once you do that, you are rewarded with the Rock. It's a Halo-style frag grenade that you can equip after landing final blows with the weapon. We're going to talk about its viability in just a moment, but when I see catalysts like this, I have to applaud it. It's Bungie being creative. And we have this seesaw effect between Bungie giving us catalysts that give us stat bumps, and then catalysts that greatly changes the weapon. For instance, Vex Mythoclast literally turns the weapon into a linear fusion rifle. Cerberus, which kind of turns itself into a shotgun, which we're going to be doing a deep dive on here soon as well. But I love this take on Forerunner, even if the ammo economy could be a tad bit better. Now, with the most recent buffs, and the fact that we also have seasonal anti-barrier sidearm, and since so many of you in the comment sections of our videos been saying that Forerunner was meta, well, we felt compelled to actually do this deep dive. Now, against red bar enemies, Forerunner benefited from that 20% buff to sidearms. And in Carl's Cave here, that gave us damage values of 5,231 per body and 27,254 per crit. Lots of emphasis here, guys, on landing crits. Essentially more than a 5 times crit multiplier with a max DPS of 90,847. Now, keep in mind, guys, that is against minors. Against majors, which is Carl here, we're putting in 3,754 per body and 19,557 per crit. So again, another 5x here to our crit multiplier on precision shots with a crazy DPS of 65,190. Again, it's the rate of fire here that's so impressive, as long as you're hitting those precisions. Now, to put this into context, legendary 300 round per minute sidearms do a similar body shot damage on both majors and minors, but of course, the crit multiplier is nowhere near close. Allied Demand, for example, does slightly more body damage, but only has a 1.27 crit multiplier. The direct comparison you should be looking at is against sniper rifles. 140 round per minute snipers have crit multipliers of 3.25, which is still lower than that of 5.2 of Forerunners, but the sheer damage of a sniper is just higher, although not by much. Considering how deep Forerunner's ammo reserves are, holding up to 72 shots, including a 12-shot mag, the potential for damage over time is impressive. I think it says a lot that when trying to evaluate the performance of this sidearm, the best comparison is a sniper rifle. Now let's talk about the Rock. This bonus frag has some nuance around it that has changed since our initial review oh so long ago. After landing a final blow, there is an invisible 4-second window in which to activate your alt fire to trigger the perk. Now, once you do, the magazine is fully reloaded and 4 shots are removed to create the frag nade. Now, if you don't have 4 shots to spare in your reserves, the remaining cost comes from your magazine. And if you don't have 4 shots total, well, too bad. The Rock will only activate if you have enough ammo. Now, assuming you do have the bullets, the Rock hits minors up to 117,827 damage. Interesting that we actually have 117 here. I'm not sure if that has any reference to like Master Chief, could just be a complete coincidence, but on majors, that damage, believe it or not, is unchanged. At Carl, we never saw an explosion hit for higher than 117,827 damage on any type of enemy. Now, some things that do not buff the frag nade damage. Kinetic weapon surges do not buff it, despite it still buffing Forerunner's primary mode. The Rock Rock does not get that buff. Trick Sleeves also do not buff the damage of the frag grenade, despite it still buffing the damage of the sidearm itself. However, things that tack into grenade damage being increased, such as Verity's Brow and Heart of Inmost Light, these two things do boost the damage of the frag grenade. Death Throws is a 20% buff per stack up to 100%, which does a substantial amount of damage. However, you have to jump through hoops to actually proc this, as the perk The Fourth Magic states that weapon final blows with a damage type matching your subclass energy will grant death throws. So you have to do a lot of things here, guys. You got to essentially get kills with an element matching your subclass, then swap to Forerunner, get a kill, have the frag grenade ready to take advantage of that 100% buff. Now, is it a nice buff? Absolutely. We're talking 235,000 damage versus Carl with death throw times 5. But again, you have to jump through hoops, and I'm not sure if it's really worth it. Now, Heart of Inmost Light, this does buff the damage, and it has more ease of use. Now, it's not that big of a buff in comparison to death throws, but the damage bonus is 35% at empowered times 2, which does crank our damage up to 160,000 against Carl. So a nice little buff benefiting the grenade damage here. Now, with that being said, does Armamentarium, which gives you 2 grenades, also give you a second frag grenade with Forerunner? No, it does not. It's still 1 grenade. However, you do have the option here of throwing 2 of whatever your energy grenades are on top of the frag grenade. You'll rain down so many grenades, Shaxx would even be proud. Now, the quirks of the Rock matter quite a bit less inside of the Crucible. Forerunner and its abilities have really been attributed to its time to kill and its ability to 3-tap, doing 68 damage per crit, 37 per body. We're talking a 0.6 time to kill value optimally. It's also got 100 range, a hefty zoom value. Now, a common complaint from folks using Forerunner is that the recoil of the weapon, as well as its ability to handle flinch, is poor. But if you take advantage of the traits Pace Yourself, where tapping the trigger gives this weapon less recoil and improves accuracy, you'll be seeing those 3 taps way more often. So this is not the type of weapon to just lay on the trigger with, guys. You want to literally tap. Now, with that being said, the reason why the Rock is just not that useful inside of Crucible is you only get 8 shots on spawn. So to really take advantage of the frag grenade itself is very circumstantial. We're talking about like Crown's Cesia's balance back in Season the Splicer. Bungie actually stated using kill-based triggers is an intentional way of making perks more effective in PvE than inside of PvP. And that's certainly the case here. If you can pull off a 3-tap, turn around, grant yourself a grenade, consume ammo, and then land essentially a direct hit with the frag grenade, it's a lot of hoops to jump through. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't do a lot of damage in its AoE, approximately 181, but considering scavenger perks cannot be utilized inside of PvP, no one is going out of their way to consume ammo when you can just guarantee yourself the kill by just using the sidearm itself. It's the 3-tap in 0.6 seconds that really makes Forerunner shine inside of PvP. Now, jumping back inside of PvE, anti-sidearm is something that is typically a joke, at least from the perspective of everybody that comes by our streams. I use sidearms all the time, and everybody's always asking me, Cross, why are you using that garbage? Why not use Arbalest or Wishender? Or if you're really trying to get cute, use Revision 0. Why are you using a sidearm? Well, Forerunner is not like other sidearms. And against barrier champions on legend difficulty, it is actually able to stun a barrier in a single precision hit. On Master, Forerunner stuns also with a single precision hit, and on Grandmasters, it takes 2 precision hits, which is not bad at all, guys. Considering how fast it shreds red bars, orange bars, and the amount of crit damage it does against majors, and it's putting in decent work against champions, in my opinion, Forerunner is a contender, even with the likes of Arbalest as well as Wishender. But sticking to Grandmasters though, when you factor in the damage of the Rock, you start incorporating things that these other weapons can't really do, which is ad clear. And considering we have so many options to present us with special ammo, whether that be special ammo finder, finishers, you can keep that 72 shots stacked pretty much at all times. Kill an enemy with less than a mag, load your grenade, and then it's time to clean house. Now, it's worth noting, at least for anti-barrier, the Rock does not pierce shields. I know. It's unfortunate. Why, Bungie? And I'm gonna assume that even if we get other sidearm artifact perks in the future, it probably won't stun unstoppables and overloads. The frag is literally for damage and ad clear. Now, the biggest issue I have with Forerunner right now is not actually Forerunner itself. It is that competition. While this gun may have more uses than, say, the likes of Arbalest, it's not hard to just pair Arbalest with a good crown-clearing weapon. Arbalest crits against Carls are 83,796, more than 4 times that of Forerunner, despite lower ammo capacity and rate of fire. Revision 0 sniper hits for 54,714 using primary ammo. Now, Wishender's crits can come in lower, but with the over-penetration, it deals damage 3 times. These are all one-shot precision stuns on any difficulty, including Grandmaster. And really, Wishender does so much, and it's just a primary weapon. It's nuts! And considering that it also over-penetrates enemies, it hits enemies enemies multiple times, contributing to your super energy even more. We've actually done reviews on Wish Ender. We really need to just do another review, but yes, it's a phenomenal weapon, especially against barriers. So regarding anti-barrier capabilities, Forerunner does fall short of that trio. Now, when we look across the board in regards to damage, unfortunately, Outbreak Perfected and Quicksilver Storm, these two weapons have proven to be the indisputable kings of the kinetic slot, putting out lower DPS than Forerunner, but the primary weapons, they have unlimited ammo. And on top of that, Quicksilver has some nutty damage in its grenade launcher mode. Believe me guys, Forerunner is beautifully unique. The nostalgia that we have when using this weapon, its 3-tapping capabilities, and there are ways to work around that ammo economy inside of PvE to get the most use out of it. And I actually think the way in which Bungie could substantially improve Forerunner is for my hunter specifically. And guys, I'm talking about Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves. I know some of you are like, Cross, what ancient relic do you speak of? This is an old exotic that comes with the perk Spring-Loaded Mounting. This increases sidearm ready and reload speed, but states that while you're critically wounded, swapping to a sidearm increases its damage. It also provides a large benefit to AE of sidearms. Now, the main takeaway here is the damage. Essentially, it doubles the damage of all sidearms, including Forerunner. Problem is, your health has to hit red. Now, against minors, this actually increases our damage to 10,462 per body and 54,507 per crit. Major damage goes from 7,508 per body and 39,114 per crit. That is a straight up and down 200% increase in damage on everything except the rock. But the damage numbers for the sidearm itself here is so impressive. The problem with Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves is the ease of use. You gotta be damn near one shot. And then on top of that, it goes away so quickly once your health starts to improve. Bungie, it's high time that you actually give this exotic more love. You allow that damage to persist after reaching critical health. Even after recovering your health, it needs to sit there and persist at least for like a 5 to 10 second duration after our health has completely improved, considering you're pretty much one shot when trying to proc these exotics. The other change they could do here with Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves is to just take the Lucky Pants approach. You see, Lucky Pants is balanced because it has a cooldown. A legally modded holster says that when you ready a fully loaded hand cannon that deals kinetic damage or a damage type that matches your subclass energy type, each hit from that hand cannon increases the damage of the next shot for a short time against a combatant. That also benefits accuracy here, but the main takeaway is that increases damage inside of PvE. This has amplified our damage up to the point where we're putting out like 1.8 million damage plus against Taniks with nothing but a primary weapon being a hand cannon and Lucky Pants. If Bungie was to take the approach, we're swapping to a sidearm and readying it, increase the damage, stacking with every precision hit, but simultaneously capping that damage after a certain point, just like Lucky Pants, and then adding a cooldown, well, now we're cooking. You just buffed a forgotten exotic, that being Trick Sleeves, and you just substantially improved sidearm potential inside of PvE. I hope Bungie would take that approach. At the end of the day, as of now, Forerunner really isn't shaking up the meta. Bungie is consistently raising the damage floor of our weapons to make different playstyles and in-game viable. I love how creative Bungie has been with Forerunner. I love the rock, and considering so many people are running double special, Forerunner is actually a wonderful weapon here to utilize that playstyle with. But I really believe to really buff sidearm potential across the board is to give love to Trick Sleeves. And I know my Warlocks and Titans right now are like, Cross, that just means we have to play Hunter. That sucks. Honestly, that kind of leans into the identity of Hunters, right? Amplifying the damage of the weapons. I think it works phenomenally well with hand cannons and Lucky Pants, and I think Bungie can do the exact same thing here with Trick Sleeves and all of her sidearms, and Forerunner being a big contender. And before somebody jumps up and says, Cross, Forerunner won't benefit from an overhaul there to Trick Sleeves. It's a special weapon. Guys, Ariana's Vow is a special weapon and a hand cannon, and it also benefits from Lucky Pants. The same thing would apply here. So let me know in the comments below what you think, and if you like these deep dives, a like and share on this video is very much appreciated. We put a lot of work into these, guys. We're going to continue doing deep dives like this on other weapons, and feel free to comment below which weapon you would like for us to cover next. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.